I should have known the night would end in ruin the moment I saw him watching me from across the gallery. The art exhibition was supposed to be simple champagne, polite conversation, a few promising connections for my interior design portfolio. I'd worn the emerald dress because it made me feel confident, not because I wanted to be noticed, not by anyone dangerous. But he noticed anyway. He stood near the back wall, partially obscured by shadow, his dark suit fitting him like armor. Even from 30 feet away, I could feel the weight of his attention, deliberate, invasive, like fingers tracing the curve of my spine. My heart stuttered against my ribs, and I forced myself to look away, to focus on the abstract painting in front of me that suddenly meant nothing. That piece sold for $200,000 last week, a voice said beside me, smooth, cultured, laced with something darker underneath. The artist killed himself 3 days later. I turned, and there he was. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jaw shadowed with stubble, dark eyes that held an unsettling mixture of intelligence and cruelty, a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile honestly. His cologne hit me cedar and something smokier, expensive and consuming. That's terrible, I managed, hating how breathless I sounded. Is it? He tilted his head slightly, studying me the way one might study a puzzle. Perhaps the money meant nothing to him. Perhaps he'd already made his masterpiece and saw no reason to continue. That's a bleak way to see the world. The world is bleak, Miss Keller. He said my name like he'd known it all along, and my stomach dropped. I'm simply honest about it. You know my name. It wasn't a question. My pulse hammered in my throat. Isla Keller, 28. You run a boutique design firm in Soho. You moved to New York from Portland 3 years ago after your father's gallery went bankrupt. You take your coffee black with 1 sugar, you jog through Central Park every Sunday morning, and you've been single for 6 months since your last relationship ended badly, I assume, given how carefully you've avoided dating since. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thinner. Around us, people laughed and clinked glasses, oblivious. I took a step back, but he matched it with one forward, closing the distance. Who the hell are you? Dante Moretti. He said it simply, as if it should mean everything. It did. Even someone as deliberately disconnected from New York's underbelly as me had heard whispers. The Moretti family controlled half the city's underground operations, shipping, real estate, things people didn't talk about in polite company. They were ghosts in expensive suits, shadows that shaped the city's bones. And this man, this beautiful, terrifying man, stood at the center of it all. I swallowed hard. I don't want any trouble. Then you shouldn't have caught my attention. His voice dropped lower, intimate, despite the crowd around us. But you did. 6 weeks ago, at the Carlisle benefit. You were wearing blue. You laughed at something your friend said, and I thought there, that's the sound I want to wake up to. My breath caught. This wasn't happening. Men like him didn't notice women like me. We existed in different universes, parallel lines never meant to intersect. You're insane. Probably. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. His fingers were warm, calloused at the tips, hands that had built empires and buried bodies. But that doesn't make it less true. I'm leaving. I turned sharply, but his hand caught my wrist, not hard, but absolute. You should know something first. His thumb pressed against my pulse point, and I knew he could feel how wildly my heart raced. Every man you date will disappear, Isla. Not violently, I'm not a monster, but they'll receive opportunities elsewhere, sudden transfers, reasons to leave your life, until you realize what I already know. Which is, his eyes darkened, and for a moment, I saw something raw beneath the control obsession, hunger, something that made my knees weak despite every survival instinct screaming at me to run. That you're mine. You've been mine since the moment I saw you. The rest is just time catching up. He released my wrist and stepped back, straightening his cuffs with deliberate casualness. When he smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. Go ahead. Try to prove me wrong. Date other men. Build your walls. But I'm a patient man, Isla, and I always get what I want. He leaned in close enough that his breath warmed my ear. And I want you. Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like smoke, leaving me standing alone with champagne trembling in my hand and his scent still in my lungs. I left the gallery 10 minutes later, took a cab home to my small apartment in Chelsea, double-locked the door, and told myself I'd never see him again. I was wrong. The next morning, there were white roses on my doorstep, 24 of them, perfect and thornless. The card read simply, "Counting the days until you stop running." I threw them in the trash. That afternoon, my contractor called about the Brooklyn brownstone project I'd been designing. The client had tripled the budget and requested I work exclusively on site. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. It wasn't until I arrived at the address that I realized the property belonged to Moretti Enterprises. And Dante Moretti was waiting inside, leaning against the marble fireplace mantel with a smile that promised both salvation and damnation. "Welcome home, Isla," he said softly. "Let's begin." I should have walked away the moment I saw him standing there. Should have turned on my heel, called my lawyer, reported the manipulation for what it was. Coercion wrapped in expensive paper and tied with a bow made of roses I'd tried to forget. But I didn't, because standing in that doorway, watching Dante Moretti look at me like I was something precious, he'd finally hunted down. I felt something worse than fear. I felt alive. "This is illegal," I said, forcing steel into my voice even as my legs trembled. You can't manipulate contracts to..." "I didn't manipulate anything." He pushed off the fireplace, moving with the fluid grace of a predator who knew his prey couldn't escape. "Your contractor received a legitimate offer. Better pay, better terms, the creative freedom you've been begging for in every proposal you've submitted for the past year. I simply made sure the opportunity came from me." "That's the same thing." "No, Isla. It's business." He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could see the silver flecks in his dark eyes, far enough to let me pretend I still had space to breathe. "You're talented. Exceptional, actually. This brownstone has been sitting empty for 2 years because I was waiting for the right person to understand what it could become. Then I saw your portfolio." "Liar." The word came out shakier than I intended. "You said you've been watching me for 6 weeks. His smile was slow, dangerous. "I've been wanting you for 6 weeks. I've been watching you for 8 months. The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet. 8 months. All those times I'd felt eyes on me during my morning runs. That sensation of being observed while I sketched in coffee shops, the strange coincidences that had brought clients to my small firm, none of it had been paranoia. All of it had been him. "You're a stalker. I prefer thoroughly invested." He tilted his head, studying my reaction with unnerving focus. "But if the label makes you feel safer, use it. I won't pretend to be something I'm not, Isla. I want you in my world, in my life, in my bed, and I'll use every resource I have to make that happen. But I won't force you. The choice is always yours, except it's not really a choice when you've rigged the game. Life rigs the game. I just play better than most." He gestured toward the gutted interior of the brownstone exposed brick, soaring ceilings, original hardwood beneath decades of neglect. "This project is real. The budget is real. Your vision matters to me. Work with me for 3 months. If at the end you still want nothing to do with me, I'll walk away. You'll keep the commission, the credit, everything." I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to my own ears. "You expect me to believe you'd just let me go?" "No." His voice dropped, and suddenly the air between us felt charged, electric. "I expect you'll realize you don't want me to." He moved then, closing the distance in 2 strides, and I should have stepped back, but my body betrayed me, rooting me in place. His hand came up slowly, giving me time to refuse, and cupped my jaw with a gentleness that felt obscene coming from a man whose reputation was built on violence. "I see you, Isla," he murmured, his thumb tracing the line of my cheekbone. "The way you hide behind professional walls, the way you've convinced yourself that being alone is safer than being vulnerable. I see how tired you are of building beautiful spaces for other people, while your own life stays empty. I see..." "Stop." I grabbed his wrist, but I didn't pull his hand away. God help me, I didn't pull away. "You don't know me." "Then let me." His forehead dropped to mine, and I could feel his breath against my lips, could smell cedar and smoke, and something uniquely him that made my head spin. 3 months. Let me know you. Let me show you what we could build together, not just this house, but something that matters. Something real. Nothing about this is real. But my voice wavered, and we both heard it. "Your heart is racing." His other hand found my waist, steadying me when I swayed. "Your pupils are dilated. You're leaning into me even as you tell yourself to run. That's real, Isla. Maybe the only real thing either of us has felt in years." I opened my mouth to argue, to deny, to do anything but stand there drowning in the intensity of his gaze, and my phone shattered the moment, buzzing violently in my purse. Dante stepped back immediately, releasing me so suddenly I almost fell. He steadied me with one hand, then retreated to a professional distance, his expression smoothing into something cooler, more controlled. I fumbled for my phone, desperate for the interruption, and saw my best friend Maya's name flashing on the screen. I need to take this. Of course. He moved toward the window, giving me privacy, but I could feel his attention still on me like heat against my skin. Maya, this isn't... Where are you? Her voice was sharp with panic. Isla, I just got a call from Detective Chen. They're asking questions about you, about your clients, about God. They mentioned the Moretti family. What the hell is going on? The blood drained from my face. I looked at Dante's back, saw the rigid set of his shoulders, the way his hand had curled into a fist against the window frame. He'd heard every word. I'll call you back, I whispered and ended the call with shaking fingers. Dante turned slowly, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost vulnerable, almost human, almost sorry. There are things you need to know about my world, he said quietly. Things I was hoping to explain gradually, but it seems we're out of time for gentle introductions. What have you done? My voice cracked. What have you dragged me into? Nothing yet. His jaw tightened. But someone knows you're here. And that, Isla, that makes you a target. The sound of breaking glass exploded from upstairs, followed by footsteps. Heavy, multiple, coming closer. Dante's hand moved to the small of his back, emerging with a gun I hadn't known he was carrying. And his eyes, those beautiful, terrible eyes, went completely cold. Stay behind me, he ordered. And whatever happens next, don't scream. Time. Fractured into razor-sharp fragments. The metallic click of Dante's safety disengaging. The thunder of boots on the floor above us. The way my breath seemed to trap itself halfway up my throat and refuse to move. Dante. Quiet. The word was absolute, stripped of everything except command. He shifted, positioning his body between me and the staircase, and I saw it then, the transformation. The man who touched my face with reverence vanished, replaced by something colder, something forged in violence and survival. This was the real Dante Moretti, the one people whispered about in corners, the one who made problems disappear. 3 men descended the stairs, weapons drawn but lowered, not police, not civilians. They wore black tactical gear without insignias, faces partially obscured by shadows. The lead man stopped on the bottom step, and his eyes found mine before flicking to Dante with something like resignation. We're not here for trouble, Moretti. You broke into my property with weapons. Dante's voice was ice over steel. That's the definition of trouble, Castellano. My mind snagged on the name. Castellano. Another family. Another empire built on blood and secrets. The fragile peace between New York's underground factions was legendary, and apparently, I just walked into the middle of it, shattering. We're here about the girl. Castellano's gaze shifted back to me, and I felt stripped bare under the assessment. She's been asking questions, poking into places that don't concern her. I haven't. I started, but Dante's hand shot back, gripping my wrist in warning. Miss Keller is under my protection, Dante said, each word deliberate. Whatever you think she's done, you'll take it up with me. Not her. Your protection. Castellano laughed, but it held no humor. Since when do you claim civilians? This isn't like you, Dante. Getting sloppy for a pretty face. Your father would be ashamed. The air changed. I felt it in the way Dante's muscles coiled, in the infinitesimal shift of his weight. One of the men behind Castellano took a half step back. My father, Dante said softly, dangerously, is dead. And you'll be joining him if you don't explain what the hell you're talking about in the next 30 seconds. Castellano pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward us. My stomach lurched. It was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance of me standing outside a warehouse in Red Hook. Last month, I'd been scouting locations for a potential client's office renovation. That warehouse belongs to the Volkov operation, Castellano said. 3 days after she was photographed there, federal agents raided it. 16 arrests, $2 million in product seized. And now we find her cozy with you? Either she's a Fed or you're using her as one. Either way, it's a problem. I'm an interior designer. The words burst out of me, shrill with panic. I was looking at spaces for a client. I didn't know. She didn't know. Dante cut in, his tone brooking no argument. And if your intelligence was worth anything, you'd already know her background is clean. She's not law enforcement. She's not an informant. She's collateral damage in whatever paranoia is eating your organization alive. Then why protect her? Castellano's eyes narrowed. Why claim her if she means nothing? The silence stretched like a blade drawn across skin. I could feel Dante's pulse hammering against my wrist where he still held me, could sense the calculation behind his stillness. Because she's mine, he said finally, and something in his voice made my knees weak. And I protect what's mine. That's all the explanation you're getting. Castellano studied us for a long moment, then holstered his weapon. The men behind him followed suit, but the tension didn't ease. Fine, but keep her away from our operations. Next time she wanders somewhere she shouldn't, your protection won't mean shit. He paused on his way back, up the stairs. And Dante, watch your back. Word is someone's been feeding information to the feds. If it's not her, then you've got a rat close to home. Closer than you think. Then they were gone, disappearing through the broken window above with practiced efficiency, leaving nothing but the echo of their threat and the sound of my ragged breathing. Dante released my wrist and turned to face me. His expression was unreadable, but his hands shook slightly as he holstered his gun. Are you hurt? His voice was gentler now, but strained. No, I couldn't finish. The adrenaline was crashing through my system like broken glass, and suddenly I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. What just happened? What did You did nothing wrong. He reached for me, then stopped himself, as if remembering he no longer had the right. That warehouse. Your client. What was their name? Marcus Chen. He said he was opening a tech startup, needed industrial space with good bones. The memory felt contaminated now, every detail suddenly sinister. He paid cash for the consultation. I never heard from him again. Chen. Dante's jaw clenched. Not a real client. Someone setting you up, creating a paper trail linking you to criminal operations, making you look complicit. Why? I'm nobody. I don't matter to. You matter to me. The words were raw, unguarded. And someone knows it. Someone's been watching us both, Isla. Using you to get to me, or using me to get to you. I don't know which yet, but I will find out. He moved closer, his hands framing my face with devastating tenderness, and I saw it then, the fear beneath his control. Real, human fear. This is what my world looks like, he murmured. Violence and suspicion and danger in every shadow. This is what I was trying to spare you from, at least for a while longer. I'm sorry. God, Isla, I'm so sorry. Take me home. My voice broke. Please, just take me home. I can't. His thumbs traced my lace, cheekbones, catching tears I hadn't realized were falling. Not yet. Not until I know who's targeting you and why. But I swear to you, I swear on everything I am, I will keep you safe. How? I whispered. How can you promise that when you're the reason I'm in danger? He had no answer, just pulled me against his chest and held me while I shattered, his heart beating against mine like a war drum. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance, and I wondered if they were coming for us. Dante's penthouse was nothing like I'd imagined. I'd expected cold, opulence, marble, and chrome, spaces designed to intimidate rather than comfort. But the apartment that sprawled across the top floor of a Tribeca high-rise felt almost lived in. Warm wood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson, bookshelves crammed with worn paperbacks alongside leather-bound classics, a navy sweater draped over the back of a chair, a coffee mug beside the sink. Evidence of a man, not just a monster. You'll stay here, Dante said, setting down the overnight bag one of his men had retrieved from my apartment. His voice was carefully neutral, professional. We hadn't spoken during the drive over, hadn't touched since he'd pulled away from me in the brownstone. Guest room is down the hall. Second door. Private bathroom. Anything you need. I need to understand what's happening. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly freezing despite the apartment's warmth. You said someone's targeting me. Using me. Why? I'm nobody, Dante. I design living rooms and choose paint colors. I'm not part of this world. You became part of it the moment I decided you were mine. The possessiveness in his tone should have terrified me. Instead, it sent heat spiraling through my chest, pooling low in my belly. I hated myself for it. You don't own me. I know. He moved to the window, staring out at the glittering cityscape. But in this world, perception is reality. I've made my interest in you obvious. I've been careless, Isla. Let myself be seen watching you, following you, rearranging pieces of your life to bring you closer. People notice things like that. They wonder. They plan. Plan what? How to use you against me. He turned, and the vulnerability I'd glimpsed earlier was gone, replaced by the cold strategist. There are 3 possibilities. First, the Castellanos genuinely believe you're an informant and wanted to eliminate a threat. Second, someone's framing you to destabilize the peace between families, hoping I'll retaliate and start a war. Third, he paused, something dark crossing his features. Someone inside my organization is playing both sides, and you're the perfect distraction while they work. The implications settled over me like ice water. So I'm either bait, a scapegoat, or a smokescreen. Yes. And you brought me here anyway, into your home, your private space. I laughed, but it came out brittle. How do you know I'm not actually working? With the feds? How do you know this isn't all part of some elaborate setup? He crossed the room in 3 strides, backing me against the bookshelf with an intensity that stole my breath. His hands caged me in, palms flat against the wood on either side of my head, his body close enough that I could feel his heat without touching. Because I've had you investigated by 4 separate sources, he said quietly. Because every phone call you've made in the last 8 months has been monitored, every email read, every bank transaction traced. I know you donate 15% of your income to arts education programs. I know you visit your mother in Portland twice a year, even though she barely remembers who you are anymore. I know you cry during romantic comedies and hate cilantro and haven't slept with anyone since your ex-boyfriend cheated on you with his assistant. My face burned. That's invasive? Obsessive? Unforgivable? His voice dropped to a whisper. Yes, all of it. But it also means I know you're innocent. I know you're genuine. And I know... His hand came up, fingers threading through my hair with aching gentleness, that you're the first real thing I've wanted in 10 years. I'm not a thing to be wanted. But my voice wavered, betrayed by the way my body leaned into his touch. No, you're a woman who deserves better than this. Better than me. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I stopped breathing. But I'm too selfish to let you go, too broken to be the man you need. So instead I'll be the man who keeps you alive, who gives you every beautiful thing you've ever wanted, who burns down the world if it means keeping you safe. That's not love, I whispered. That's obsession. I know. His forehead dropped to mine, and I felt him tremble. But it's all I have to offer. The moment stretched between us, taut with possibility and danger. I could feel the edge of something catastrophic, could sense that if I let myself fall into him now, there would be no climbing back out. My phone shattered the tension, buzzing in my pocket. Maya's name flashed on the screen again. Dante pulled back immediately, giving me space, his expression shuddering closed. Answer it, he said. She'll worry otherwise. I fumbled for the phone with shaking hands. Maya, I'm fine. Don't lie to me. Her voice was sharp with fear and fury. I called 6 times. The police came to your apartment. Isla, what the hell is going on? Where are you? I looked at Dante helplessly. He held out his hand for the phone, and after a moment's hesitation, I gave it to him. Miss Rivera, he said, his voice smooth and commanding. Isla is safe. She's with me, and she'll remain safe as long as necessary. I understand you're concerned, but I need you to trust that I have her best interests at heart. I couldn't hear Maya's response, but Dante's jaw tightened. Yes, I'm aware of my reputation. And yes, I'm exactly who you think I am, which is precisely why no harm will come to her. He paused, listening. You're a good friend. She's lucky to have you. But if you contact the police again, you'll only put her in more danger. The people looking for her won't hesitate to use you as leverage. Stay quiet. Stay safe. I'll have her call you tomorrow. He ended the call and handed back my phone. She thinks you've kidnapped me, I said numbly. Haven't I? His smile was bitter. You're in my home, surrounded by my guards, trapped in my world. The only difference between this and a kidnapping is that you walked in willingly. Did I? Or did you just give me no other choice? Does it matter anymore? Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and every muscle in his body went rigid. "What?" I asked. "What is it?" He turned the phone toward me. A single photograph filled the screen taken through my apartment window hours ago. My bedroom, my bed, and written across the image in red digital text. "She's already ours." The photograph burned itself into my retinas, my bed, my private space, violated by a lens I'd never known existed. Someone had been inside my apartment, inside my bedroom, watching while I slept, while I dressed, while I lived my life believing I was safe. "I'm going to be sick." Dante's hand was on my back instantly, steadying me as I bent forward, gulping air that felt too thin. The room tilted sideways, and I would have collapsed if he hadn't caught me, guiding me to the leather sofa with a gentleness that contradicted everything I knew about him. "Breathe," he murmured, crouching in front of me, his hands on my knees. "Slowly. In through your nose, out through your mouth. That's it. Stay with me, Isla." But I couldn't stay. My mind was spiraling, cataloging every moment of the past months, every time I'd felt watched, every shadow that had seemed too dark, every instinct I'd dismissed as paranoia. They'd all been real. All of it. "How long?" My voice came out strangled. "How long? Have they been watching me?" "I don't know." His thumb traced circles on my kneecap, grounding me. "But I'm going to find out. And when I do, don't." I grabbed his wrist, feeling the tension coiled beneath his skin. "Don't tell me what you're going to do to them. I don't want to know. I don't want to be the reason You're not the reason." They made themselves targets the moment they touched what's mine. His eyes were black with rage, but his hands remained gentle. "This is what I am, Isla. I don't apologize for it. I don't pretend to be civilized when someone threatens the few things in this world I actually care about. I never asked you to care about me." "No, you didn't." Something flickered across his face, pain, maybe, or regret. "You never asked for any of this, which makes what I'm about to request even more unforgivable." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What?" "I need access to everything. Your phone, your laptop, your email accounts, social media, client, files, anything that might help me trace who's been tracking you and why." He pulled back slightly, giving me space. "I know I've already invaded your privacy in unconscionable ways, but this is different. This is with your permission, your consent, and I swear to you, I'll only look at what's relevant, nothing more. I should have said no, should have demanded a lawyer, protection from the actual police, anything except trusting the man who'd orchestrated my life like a chess game. But the memory of that photograph, the violation it represented, made the choice simple. Fine, but I want something in return." His eyebrow arched. "Name it." "Truth. No more games. No more manipulation. If I'm risking my life by being here, I deserve to know who you really are. Not the reputation, not the rumors. You." The silence stretched between us, heavy with things unspoken. Finally, Dante stood, moving to the bar cart in the corner and pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. He handed me 1 whiskey, smooth and expensive, and settled into the chair across from me. "My father built this empire on blood and fear," he began, his voice distant. "I was 8 when I watched him kill a man in our kitchen. The man had stolen from us $50,000, which my father found insulting not for the amount but for the audacity. He made me watch, said I needed to understand that mercy was weakness, that love was a weapon people used against you." I sipped the whiskey, letting the burn focus me. "Did you believe him?" "For a long time, yes." Dante stared into his glass like it held answers. "I took over when I was 23, after he died of a heart attack at his mistress's apartment. Ironic, really all that violence. And he died in bed. The families expected me to be like him, ruthless, uncompromising, so I became that. I buried everything soft inside me so deep I forgot it existed." "What changed?" "You." The word landed between us like a confession. "I saw you at that benefit, laughing with your friend, completely unaware of the monsters standing 20 feet away in expensive suits. You looked so alive, present, like the world hadn't beaten the joy out of you yet. And I thought, I want that. I'm not some fairy tale ending, Dante. I can't fix whatever's broken in you." "I know." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost vulnerable. "I don't expect you to fix me. I don't expect you to love me or even forgive me for dragging you into this nightmare. But I need you to understand what I feel for you isn't just obsession or possession. It's the first honest emotion I've had in 15 years. And whether that makes me a romantic or a psychopath, I genuinely can't tell anymore. My throat tightened. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Probably. He finished his whiskey in one swallow. But it's the truth you asked for. Before I could respond, the apartment security system chimed. Dante was on his feet instantly, hand moving to the gun I now knew he always carried. A voice crackled through the intercom, one of his guards. "Sir, we have a situation. Marco Castellano is here. Says it's urgent. Says it's about the girl's father. My father." The words punched through me like a fist. My father had been dead for 3 years, heart failure, the doctor said, brought on by stress and financial ruin. The gallery had collapsed around him, and he'd died 6 months later, alone in a hospital room I'd barely made it to in time. What about my father? I stood, the room spinning slightly. What could they possibly know about? "Let him up," Dante said into the intercom, his tone lethal. Then to me, "Whatever he's about to tell us, I need you to stay calm. Can you do that?" Yes, I think so." 2 minutes later, Marco Castellano stood in Dante's living room, looking uncomfortable and significantly less threatening without his tactical team. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Your father didn't die of natural causes," he said without preamble. "He was murdered, and the man who ordered it is standing right next to you." The world stopped. I turned to Dante slowly, searching his face for denial, for confusion, for anything except the guilt I saw written there. "Tell me he's lying," I whispered. "Dante, tell me." "I can't." His voice broke on the words. "God help me, Isla. I can't." The sound that came out of me wasn't quite a scream, it was something raw, more primal. The kind of noise a person makes when their entire reality fractures and reforms into something unrecognizable and cruel. "Get away from me." My voice didn't sound like my own. Don't you dare touch me." Dante's hand had been reaching for me, but he froze, his face draining of color. "Isla, let me explain." "Explain?" The word tasted like poison. "Explain how you murdered my father, how you destroyed his life, killed him, and then what? Decided his daughter would make a nice trophy? A fun project?" I backed toward the door, my legs trembling so badly I could barely stand. "You watched me grieve. You knew what his death did to me, and you looked me in the eye and I didn't know who you were." The words came out jagged, desperate. "Not at first. Not when it happened. Isla, please, you have to believe. I don't have to believe anything you say ever again." Tears streamed down my face, hot and furious. "You're a liar, a murderer, and I was stupid enough to almost—" I couldn't finish. Couldn't admit how close I'd come to falling for him. Marco Castellano cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the scene unfolding before him. "Perhaps I should tell her everything," Dante cut in, his voice hollow. "If you're going to destroy me, do it completely. She deserves the whole truth." Marco shifted his weight, avoiding my gaze. 3 years ago, your father's gallery was laundering money for the Volkov organization. We don't know. If he was aware of it initially, likely he wasn't. They used his legitimate business as a front, funneling dirty money through fake art sales. When the Fed started investigating, the Volkovs got nervous. My father wasn't a criminal. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. The late-night phone calls he'd hidden from me. The way he'd flinched whenever sirens passed. The stress that had carved him hollow in those final months. "No," Marco agreed quietly. But he discovered what was happening, threatened to go to the police. The Volkovs couldn't allow that he knew too much, could expose their entire operation. They ordered the hit, made it look like heart failure. Easy enough when a man's already stressed, already sick. And Dante? My voice cracked on his name. What's his part in this horror story? I was contracted to handle it. Dante's words fell like stones into water, creating ripples that would never settle. The Volkovs and my family had a business arrangement. They needed someone removed quietly. I provided the service. I didn't ask questions. Didn't want to know why. His breath hitched. Just did the job. You killed him. I needed to hear him say it. Needed the final confirmation that would let me hate him completely. Not personally. I arranged it. Hired the doctor who administered the drug that stopped his heart. paid off the medical examiner who ruled it natural causes. I orchestrated every detail, Isla. And I didn't lose a single night's sleep over it. Not then. But now? The question tore out of me, bitter and broken. Now you feel guilty? Now that you've decided you want me? Suddenly my father's murder matters? Now I can't breathe without seeing his face in yours. Dante's composure finally cracked, his voice raw with something that might have been anguish. I didn't connect you to him until a month ago. I'd been watching you, wanting you, building fantasies about who we could be together. And then one of my men ran a deeper background check, saw your father's name, saw the gallery. And I realized, he pressed his palms against his eyes. I realized I'd fallen in love with the daughter of a man I'd helped murder. Don't. The word came out fierce. I don't, Lee. Don't you dare call this love. What else would you call it? He dropped his hands, and I saw devastation written across his features. What else could make me this reckless? I kept pursuing you knowing what I'd done, knowing I should walk away, knowing you'd hate me if you ever learned the truth. But I couldn't stop. Every rational part of me said to protect you by disappearing from your life. And instead, I pulled you closer. That's not obsession, Isla. That's not possession. That's loving someone so selfishly, so completely, that you'd rather see them destroy you than live without them. You're insane. Yes. He took a step toward me, and I flinched. The hurt that flashed across his face was so genuine it made my chest ache. But I'm insane. Enough to tell you the rest. The part Marco conveniently left out. Marco stiffened. Moretti, the Volkovs didn't just want him dead. Dante's eyes locked on mine, burning with intensity. They wanted him to suffer first, wanted his business destroyed, his reputation ruined, his daughter left with nothing. I negotiated those terms down, insisted on a clean death, financial protection for you through anonymous channels. The scholarship fund that paid for your last year of design school, the grant that let you start your firm. That was me, Isla, trying to give back what I'd taken, trying to ease guilt I didn't even understand yet. My mind reeled. The scholarship that had saved me when I was drowning in my father's medical debt. The grant that had felt like a miracle when I'd lost everything. All of it, his blood money, his conscience payment. That doesn't make it better, I whispered. It makes it worse. You played God with my entire life. I know. I could never forgive this. Never. I know. Then why tell me? My voice rose, hysterical. Why not just let me think he died naturally? Why destroy us both with the truth? Because you asked me not to lie anymore. His voice gentled, becoming unbearably tender. And because you deserve better than building something real on a foundation of deception. Even if the truth costs me everything. Marco's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened. We have a bigger problem. The feds are moving tonight. Someone tipped them off about a major exchange between our families. They're planning simultaneous raids across the city. The rat, Dante said flatly. Someone's forcing our hand. And they're using this, Marco gestured between Dante and me, as the distraction. While you're playing romance novels, your empire is burning. Dante's phone erupted with calls. All around the apartment I could hear the security system activating, guards mobilizing, the machine of his criminal world grinding into motion. He looked at me, his expression desolate. I have to go. Handle this. But Isla, go. I turned away, unable to look at him anymore. Just go. I'll keep you safe. Whatever happens, I swear. Your promises mean nothing to me. The silence that followed felt like a death. Then I heard his footsteps retreating, the door opening and closing, the elevator descending, and I was alone with the ghost of my father and the ruins of something that had never really existed at all. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the city lights blurring through my tears, before the reality of my situation crystallized with terrifying clarity. I was alone in a crime lord's penthouse. The man who'd murdered my father had just walked out to handle federal raids and gang warfare. And somewhere out there, people who'd photographed my bedroom, people who claimed I was already theirs, were still watching, still waiting. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. Maya's number. I needed to hear a friendly voice. Needed someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind, that the last 48 hours had actually happened. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. A cold fist of dread closed around my heart. Maya always answered. Always. Unless the apartment door burst open. I spun, expecting Dante's guards, expecting some kind of protection. Instead, two men I'd never seen before strode in with the casual confidence of people who belonged. One was older, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. The other was younger, harder, with scarred knuckles and eyes that assessed me like merchandise. Miss Keller. The older man smiled, and it was all teeth. We've been waiting to meet you properly. I'm Viktor Volkov. The name hit me like a physical blow. Volkov, the organization that had used my father, the people who'd ordered his death. How did you, the guards, are loyal to whoever pays better? Viktor moved to Dante's bar, cart, pouring himself a drink with the ease of someone who'd done it before. Your boyfriend has a rat problem, Miss Keller. Has for months. We've been inside his operation, his security, his inner circle, this penthouse included. The younger man hadn't spoken, but he'd positioned himself between me and the door, blocking my escape. What do you want? I forced the words past the terror constricting my throat. Initially, to use you as leverage against Moretti, a weakness we could exploit. Viktor swirled his whiskey thoughtfully. But then we learned something fascinating. You're not just any weakness. You're the daughter of Thomas Keller, the man Dante had killed 3 years ago. I know. The admission felt like swallowing glass. He told me. Viktor's eyebrows rose. Did he? How remarkably stupid. Love really does make fools of even the most dangerous men. He took a sip, watching me over the rim. Tell me, Miss Keller, what would you give to make Dante Moretti pay for what he did to your father? My mind raced. Every survival instinct screamed at me to play along, to buy time. But something else flickered beneath the fear. A cold, analytical part of myself I hadn't known existed until this moment. You killed him too, I said slowly. You're the ones who ordered it. Dante was just the weapon you used. Semantics, Viktor waved dismissively. We had business reasons. Dante made it personal by falling for you. That's the difference between necessity and cruelty. There is no difference. My voice steadied, strengthened by fury that burned through the terror. You're both monsters, and if you think I'll help you destroy him out of revenge, you're wrong. I won't be your weapon the way he was. The younger man moved then, closing the distance between us in 2 strides. His hand closed around my throat, not choking, but threatening, a promise of violence held in check by the thinnest margin. You'll do exactly what we tell you, he said quietly, or we'll kill your friend, Maya Rivera. Pretty thing. Teaches art to underprivileged kids in Brooklyn. Lives alone in a walk-up on Atlantic Avenue. Would be tragic if something happened to her. Ice flooded my veins. You're lying. Viktor pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward me. The video showed Maya tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. Her face bruised, tears streaming down her cheeks. She was alive. I could see her chest rising and falling, but terrified. One phone call, Viktor said pleasantly. That's all it takes. She lives or dies based on your cooperation. What do you want me to do? The words tasted like surrender. Dante will come back. He always comes back to check on precious things. Viktor pocketed his phone. When he does, you'll act normal. Upset, certainly, but not endangered. You'll keep him distracted while we handle the last phase of our operation. And when it's over, when his empire is ashes and his people are dead or arrested, he smiled. You'll tell him you helped us, that the daughter of Thomas Keller finally got her revenge. He'll kill me. Probably. But your friend will live. And really, isn't that what matters? Saving the innocent in all this? Viktor set down his glass. You have 10 seconds to decide, Miss Keller. Maya's life for your cooperation. Tick-tock. I thought of my father brilliant, flawed, human. I thought of Maya, who'd held me through every breakdown, every loss. I thought of Dante, whose love was poisoned by blood and guilt. Fine. The word broke something inside me. I'll do it. Smart girl. Viktor nodded to the younger man, who released my throat. We'll be watching. Listening. Try to warn him, try to signal for help, and Maya dies. Understand? Yes. They left as efficiently as they'd arrived, disappearing into the night like they'd never existed at all. I stood in the center of Dante's living room, my throat aching, my mind splintering under the weight of impossible choices. The elevator chimed 15 minutes later. Dante stepped out, looking exhausted and haunted. His jacket was gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, blood on his knuckles that I knew wasn't his. He saw me, and something in his expression fractured relief and grief warring for dominance. Isla, my name was a prayer. I'm sorry. For everything. For your father. For lying. For it's okay. The lie tasted like poison, but I made myself say it, made myself meet his eyes. We need to talk. Really talk. About all of it. He moved toward me slowly, cautiously, like I might shatter. You mean that? Yes. I let him pull me into his arms, let him hold me like I was something precious, and I hated myself for what I was about to do. Tell me everything. I want to understand. Behind him, through the window, I saw a small red light blink once from the building across the street. They were watching, waiting, and I had just betrayed the only man dangerous enough to save me. Dante held me, like I was made of glass, and I wondered if he could feel my heart trying to escape my chest, if he could sense the guilt radiating from my skin like heat. You're shaking. His voice was soft against my hair. What happened while I was gone? Everything. Nothing. The end of whatever fragile trust we'd built. I've been thinking about my father, I said, which wasn't entirely a lie. About everything you told me. And I need to understand why. Not just what you did, but why you made those choices. All of them. He pulled back enough to search my face, his dark eyes shadowed with exhaustion and something that looked dangerously close to hope. You want the truth? All of it? Yes. The word felt like stepping off a cliff. He led me to the sofa, keeping one hand on mine like he was afraid I'd disappear. Through the window, I could still see that red light blinking across the street, watching, recording, waiting for me to extract whatever information the Volkovs needed. I was 22 when I killed my first man, Dante began, his voice distant. He'd betrayed my father, stolen from us. My father handed me a gun and told me to prove I was his son, that I had the stomach for this life. He stared at his scarred knuckles. I threw up afterward, cried like a child. My father beat me for it, said tears were for the weak, and the weak didn't survive in our world. How many? I whispered. How many people have you? I stopped counting at 30. His jaw clenched. Most deserved it. Some didn't. Your father. His voice cracked. Thomas Keller was an innocent caught in a machine designed to grind up innocence. And I was so numb by then, so disconnected from anything resembling humanity, that I treated his death like a business transaction. Efficient, clean, forgettable. Except you didn't forget. No. He looked at me then, and the rawness in his expression made my chest ache. I didn't forget. His face haunted me for reasons I couldn't explain. Not guilt I'd learned to bury that years ago. Something else. Like killing him had cost me something I couldn't name. And then I saw you, and suddenly, he touched my face with devastating gentleness. Suddenly I understood. I'd killed the father of the only woman I'd ever love. The universe's cruelest joke. The words should have felt manipulative, calculated, but the brokenness in his voice, the way his hand trembled against my cheek, it felt real. Horribly, catastrophically real. Why didn't you stay away from me? My throat burned. When you realized who I was, why didn't you just disappear? Because I'm selfish, because I'm damaged, because... He leaned his forehead against mine. Because loving you is the only thing that makes me feel human anymore. Even knowing I don't deserve you. Even knowing you should hate me. I can't let you go. Behind him, the red light blinked steadily. Maya's bruised face flashed through my mind. I had to keep him talking, had to extract whatever information would satisfy the Volkovs and save my friend. But I also had to warn him, somehow. The raid's tonight, I said carefully. Marco mentioned a rat in your organization. Do you know who? Dante's expression shuddered slightly. I have suspicions. 3 people with access to tonight's operational details. I'll handle it. How? You don't want to know. I do. I pulled back enough to look at him directly. If I'm part of your life now, if we're going to find any way forward, I need to understand all of it. Even the violent parts. Especially those. He studied me for a long moment, and I prayed he couldn't see the desperation beneath my words, the way I was fishing for information that would doom him. There's a warehouse in Red Hook, he said finally. The same one where you were photographed. It's a front for the Volkovs, but it's also where they meet with their contacts inside my organization. Tomorrow night, there's a exchange scheduled. Money for information. I'm going to be there. My blood ran cold. That's suicide. If they know you suspect them, they'll show their hand. And I'll end this. His voice went flat, deadly. All of it. The Volkovs have been bleeding my operation dry for months, using my resources to wage war against the other families while making me look responsible. They want chaos. Want the city to tear itself apart so they can rebuild it in their image. And you're just going to walk into their trap? I'm going to turn their trap into their grave. He stood, moving to a panel in the wall that slid open to reveal an arsenal: guns, ammunition, body armor, things I couldn't even name. I've spent 3 years building this empire into something with rules, with boundaries. The Volkovs want to drag us back to the old ways. Blood in the streets, civilian casualties, total war. I won't allow it. Dante. I stood, my mind racing. If he walked into that warehouse, the Volkovs would be ready. They'd know everything. Because of me. What if there's another way? What if there isn't? He turned, and for a moment I saw the killer everyone feared. Cold, absolute, unstoppable. This ends tomorrow, one way or another. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Good girl. Keep him busy. Make sure he goes to the warehouse. Maya lives if he dies. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Who's texting you? Dante's voice sharpened. Maya. The lie came easier than it should have. Just checking in. She's worried. Call her back. Let her hear your voice. I don't want her contacting the police out of concern. Okay. I lifted the phone with trembling fingers, but before I could dial, the apartment's lights cut out. Emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in red. Dante had his gun drawn instantly, positioning himself between me and the door. Stay behind me, he ordered. The elevator chimed. The doors opened, and Maya stumbled out, bleeding, barely conscious, collapsing on the marble floor. It's a trap, she gasped, blood bubbling at her lips. Isla, run. They're all ready. The windows exploded inward in a shower of glass and gunfire, and Dante's body slammed into mine, taking us both to the ground as the world erupted into chaos and violence and the certainty that we were about to die. The sound of gunfire was louder than I'd imagined, sharp cracks that punched through the air and left my ears ringing. Dante's weight pressed me into the floor, his body a shield between me and the bullets tearing through his apartment. Stay down. His voice cut through the chaos as he returned fire, each shot precise and controlled. Glass rained down around us, glittering like deadly snow in the emergency lighting. Maya. I could see her sprawled near the elevator, blood pooling beneath her, and every instinct screamed at me to reach her. But Dante's hand locked around my wrist, holding me in place. She's bait, he growled. You move toward her, you die. She's my best friend, and she'll stay alive if you listen to me. He changed position, using the sofa as cover, dragging me with him. Into his phone. All units. Penthouse breach. I need extraction and medical. Now. The gunfire stopped as suddenly as it started. In the ringing silence, I heard footsteps, multiple sets, moving with military precision. They were inside. Viktor Volkov's voice drifted through the smoke and darkness. Touching Moretti. Playing hero for the girl whose father you murdered. Does she know you're the reason she's about to die? Let them go. Dante's voice was eerily calm. This is between us. They're civilians. There are no civilians in war. You taught me that. Viktor emerged from the shadows, flanked by 6 armed men. The younger man from earlier was among them, his gun trained on Maya's head. Besides, Miss Keller isn't quite the innocent you think. Are you, darling? My blood turned to ice. Dante's head swiveled toward me, confusion flickering across his face. What is he talking about? The words stuck in my throat. She's been working with us all night. Viktor's smile was cruel. Kept you distracted. Extracted information about your plans. Even convinced you to walk into our warehouse tomorrow like a lamb to slaughter. Very impressive performance, Miss Keller. Almost believed you cared about him. The look on Dante's face shattered something inside me. Betrayal. Disbelief. And beneath it all, a hurt so profound it made him look almost human. Isla? My name was a question and an accusation. They have Maya. The confession tore out of me. They said they'd kill her if I didn't cooperate. I didn't know what else to do. So you sold me out. His voice went flat, empty. After everything, after I told you, he laughed. but it sounded like breaking glass. I'm an idiot. You played me perfectly. Your father would be proud. Don't. Tears streamed down my face. Don't say that. I never wanted. It doesn't matter. What you wanted. He stood slowly, hands visible, weapon lowered. His eyes never left mine. You made your choice. How romantic. Victor gestured, and 2 of his men moved forward to restrain Dante. The monster learns to love, and love destroys him. It's almost Shakespearean. Almost makes me sad to end it. Victor. Dante's voice carried command even in surrender. You have me. Let the women go. They've served their purpose. Have they? Victor moved closer to me, and I smelled expensive cologne mixed with gun oil. Miss Keller still has value, leverage, in case your people get ambitious about revenge. And Miss Rivera, well, she knows too much now. Loose ends, you understand? No! I lunged forward, but the younger man's gun pressed against my temple, stopping me cold. Isla, don't. Maya's voice was weak but fierce. Don't give them anything else. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I got you into this. You didn't. I was sobbing now, all pretense of control gone. I did this. Dante hadn't moved, but his eyes tracked every weapon, every position, calculating odds I knew were impossible. Victor, one final deal. Me for both of them. Clean trade. You get what you want me dead, my organization in chaos. They get to walk away and forget this nightmare ever happened. Tempting, but I think the explosion came from below, powerful enough to shake the entire building. The lights flickered. Somewhere, alarms began shrieking. Dante moved. I'd seen him fight before, smooth, controlled, efficient. This was different. This was violence distilled into art form. Every movement, economical, and devastating. He broke the first man's arm before anyone could react, took his weapon, and put 2 bullets in Victor's shoulder before the others opened fire. Run! Dante's roar cut through the chaos as he provided cover, his body once again between me and death. Isla, get Maya and run! I didn't think, didn't question, just scrambled to Maya, hauling her arm over my shoulder, dragging her toward the emergency stairwell as bullets tore through the air around us. Dante! I screamed his name, looking back. He was bleeding shoulder, side, somewhere else I couldn't see. But he was still standing, still fighting, buying us seconds with his life. Our eyes met across the smoke and chaos, and in that moment, I saw everything he'd never said aloud. Forgiveness, acceptance, love, goodbye. I'm sorry, I whispered, knowing he couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry. Then Maya and I were in the stairwell, stumbling down flights of stairs while the building shook around us. Behind us, the gunfire continued steady, relentless, the soundtrack to Dante Moretti making his last stand. We burst into the lobby just as Dante's guards flooded in 12 men armed to the teeth, moving with lethal purpose toward the elevators. One grabbed my arm. Where is he? Penthouse. Volkov's men. I couldn't finish. They didn't wait. Just moved as a unit, ascending toward the war zone above, while Maya and I collapsed on the marble floor, clinging to each other, waiting for the sound that would tell us whether Dante had survived. Minutes passed like hours. Then silence. The terrible, absolute silence after violence ends. My phone buzzed. A text from Dante's number. Rooftop. Now. Come alone. Last chance. Don't. Maya grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong despite her injuries. Isla, don't go up there. It could be them. A trap. Or it could be him. I pulled free gently, standing on shaking legs. And if there's any chance at all, I have to take it. He'll never forgive you. I know. I moved toward the elevator, my heart hammering against my ribs. But I have to try. The ride to the rooftop lasted forever. When the doors opened, I stepped out into the cold night air, the city sprawling below like a carpet of stars. Dante stood at the edge, silhouetted against the lights, his shirt soaked with blood. He turned slowly, and the gun in his hand rose to point directly at my heart. Give me one reason, he said softly, why I shouldn't end this now. The gun didn't waver, neither did his gaze, dark, devastated, and completely unreadable. Blood dripped from his fingers onto the rooftop concrete. each drop marking seconds that felt like eternities. I don't have one. My voice came out steady despite the terror coursing through me. No reason you'd believe. No excuse that matters. I betrayed you to save Maya, and you have every right to pull that trigger. That's it? His laugh was bitter, broken. No begging? No declaring your love? No final desperate plea? Would any of that be true? I took a step closer, and his finger tightened on the trigger. I stopped. You know what's true, Dante? I hate that I hurt you. I hate that I was weak enough to let them use me. But I'd make the same choice again because that's who I am. Someone who can't watch innocent people die, even if it means betraying monsters. Is that what I am to you? A monster? Yes. The word hung between us like a blade. You're a monster who kills people, who builds empires on blood and fear, who murdered my father. But you're also, my voice cracked, you're also the man who held me when I shattered, who looked at me like I was something precious, who chose honesty over comfort even when the truth destroyed us both. You're a monster who somehow learned to be human, and that's what makes this unbearable. His hand trembled, just slightly, but I saw it. I should kill you, he whispered, for what you've done, for the men I lost tonight cleaning up the mess your betrayal created, for making me feel something I can never have. Then do it. I opened my arms, offering myself to the bullet. But know that it won't change anything. You'll still love me. You'll still hate yourself for it. And you'll still be alone in a world you can't escape. Isla, my name broke on his lips. I love you. The confession erupted from, somewhere deep and true. I love you and I hate you, and I don't know how both can be real simultaneously, but they are. You terrify me. You've ruined me. And if you let me walk away tonight, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I made the right choice. The gun lowered. Just an inch, but it was everything. Victor's dead, he said hollowly, along with 4 of his men. The others scattered. My organization is compromised. I'll spend months rooting out traitors and rebuilding trust. The Volkovs will regroup, come back harder. And through all of it, his eyes found mine again. I'll see your face, hear your voice, remember what it felt like to hold something good before I destroyed it. You didn't destroy it. I moved closer, slowly, waiting for him to stop me. He didn't. I did, by being too weak to find another way, by choosing between impossible options and shattering everything we might have been. There is no we, Isla. There never was. Just a killer and his obsession. Liar. I was close enough now to see the tears tracking through the blood on his face. If that's all this was, you would have pulled the trigger already, but you can't. Because somewhere beneath all the violence and control, you're just a man who forgot how to hope until you found something worth hoping for. Hope is dangerous in my world. Everything in your world is dangerous. That's never stopped you before. I reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and pressed my palm against his chest. His heart hammered against my hand, wild, erratic, alive. You're bleeding. Let me help you. Why would you help me? Because despite everything, despite the murder and manipulation and madness, I meant what I said. I love you. Not the monster. Not the criminal. You. The broken, impossible man underneath. His free hand came up, cupping my face with devastating gentleness. The gun still hung loosely in his other hand, forgotten. If I let you in again, if I'm stupid, enough to believe this, you'll destroy me completely. You understand that? Yes. I'll never be a good man. Never be safe. Never be anything except what I am. I know. And you'll stay anyway. The vulnerability in his voice shattered the last of my defenses. Even knowing what I did to your father? What I am? My father made choices that put him in that world, I said, the words costing me everything. You made choices to execute him. Both truths exist. Both hurt. But holding on to that pain won't bring him back. It'll just kill whatever chance we have at finding something real in all this darkness. That's not forgiveness. No, it's acceptance. Forgiveness might come later, or never. But right now, I pulled his head down until our foreheads touched. Right now, I'm choosing you. Choosing us. Choosing to believe that love can exist even in the ruins we've created. The gun clattered to the ground. His arms wrapped around me, crushing me against his bloodied chest. And he buried his face in my hair with a sound that might have been a sob. I don't deserve this, he breathed. Don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. I held him tighter, feeling his heart beat against mine, for better or worse, for however long this lasts. Forever. His lips found mine desperate, tender, tasting of blood and salt and promises that might be lies. I'll love you forever, Isla, even if it destroys us both. Then let it. I kissed him back with everything I had, fear and fury, and a love that defied logic. Let it burn us to ashes. At least we'll burn together. Below us, the city glittered with a million lights, each one a life continuing despite the darkness. Above us, the stars watched impassively as two broken people chose each other over sanity. And in that moment, on a blood-stained rooftop with sirens wailing in the distance, I understood the truth. Love wasn't about deserving. It wasn't about logic or safety or choosing the right path. Sometimes, love was just two damaged souls deciding that the wreckage they created together was better than the emptiness they'd face apart. Dante pulled back enough to look at me, his thumb tracing my lips with aching tenderness. What happens now? Now? I smiled through my tears. Now we figure out how to survive each other. How to build something real from broken pieces. How to love each other despite everything. And if we fail, then we fail spectacularly. I kissed him again, softer this time, but at least we'll fail together. He lifted me into his arms, cradling me against his chest as he carried me toward the rooftop exit. Toward whatever came next. Toward a future written in uncertainty and stained with the past. I love you, he murmured against my hair. My salvation, my damnation, my Isla. I love you too, I whispered back. My monster, my man, my Dante. And as we descended into the building, into his world, into our uncertain future, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd made my choice. Not the right one, not the safe one, but mine.